Hello everyone, and welcome to a very different edition of Michael's Retro Game Reviews. This week I'm talking about Bernie Stolar, hero or villain. But before we talk about him, let's talk about gaming in general. Now, I'm a gamer, I love gaming. But out of all the mediums out there in the world, like books, music and film, it is the newest one. And the thing I find so interesting in its short history is its history. The people, the events that transpired. I'd say out of all the mediums, it's got one of the most fascinating histories. And I can't really talk about all of it, so I'm going to talk about one person's contribution to it, and that is Bernie Stolar. Now, it can be argued that Bernie Stolar is the reason the Saturn failed, and is the reason for one of the most successful launches in gaming history, the Dreamcast. So let's go back. Just before the launch of the PlayStation, Bernie Stolar was appointed first executive vice president of SCEA, Sony Computer Entertainment America. Now, he made a lot of controversial decisions and employed a lot of policies. Now, one of them was the no RPG one. Now, the reason for that, well, there was two reasons. One, RPGs up to that point were 2D, and he thought that 2D games don't really show off what the PlayStation could do. And the second is, this is his quote, Western audiences don't get RPGs or understand them. Which in some ways is true. Until Final Fantasy VII came out, it was a niche market. So I suppose from his point of view, at that time, maybe he was right to assume that. Now, shortly after the launch of the PlayStation, he was offered the position of president of Sega of America. Now, I don't think Bernie Stolar liked the Saturn. One, it had one of the worst launches in history, had a lot of bad press, and it wasn't really going anywhere. I don't think the Saturn was, for me, I don't think it could be classed as a failure. It just wasn't successful enough for Sega. And basically, you need success in order to grow your system, to push forward, and then to create other systems. So from that point of view, Sega thought of it as a failure. Bernie Stolar made a lot of controversial decisions at Sega. One, he continued his policy, and that's why there wasn't really many RPGs on the Sega Saturn. Not only that, but Bernie Stolar is the single-handed reason why the Saturn was discontinued early. Now, he went to Sega of Japan and pretty much said that the Sega Saturn isn't going anywhere, let's just discontinue it and bring out a new console before the next generation of gaming. And Sega of Japan was like, yeah, okay, but let's just gently phase it out. Gently. So what does Bernie Stolar do at E3 in '97? Now, this is his quote: "The Saturn is not our future." Yeah, very subtle, Bernie, very subtle. But then again, maybe he didn't want to, subtly phase out the Saturn. Maybe he wanted just to get it over with as quick as possible, because as soon as they got it over with, the sooner they could start investing and developing the Dreamcast. So I suppose in that sense, maybe he did Sega a favour. Bernie Stolar was a single-handed reason why the Saturn was discontinued early, and the reason why they started making the Dreamcast. A week before the Dreamcast was launched, Bernie Stolar was fired. Now, there are lots of rumours why he was fired. I personally think the reason he was fired was because Sega of Japan wanted to release in America the Dreamcast at about $249. He overruled them and launched it at $200. Now, the machine was extremely successful. In its first week, it grossed over $300 million. The Dreamcast's original launch price was $249, and he put it out at $200. Now, you can understand why the machine was so successful. $200 for a launch machine. People just went for it to the point where it sold out. People walked out of stores empty-handed. Not just that, but there was such hype about the Dreamcast and Sega, and he was directly responsible for that. Without him, people would not have been interested in purchasing a Sega console again. Now, Bernie Stolar's still been kicking around gaming, there's not very much information on the internet about what he's doing. He's moved to various different companies, and I'm not really sure what he's doing now, so wherever he is, I wish you all the best. It's hard to say whether he's a villain or a hero. I mean, I think we all agree that the Saturn had problems, and Bernie Stolar couldn't have saved it, and he was the final nail in the coffin. I think we can agree on that one. And the Dreamcast, we can all agree that he is single-handedly the reason why the launch was so successful. So, I'll leave it to you to decide. In a day, good or bad, controversial or not, he has a place in gaming history, and, you know, he was responsible for the Dreamcast to some degree, and that system has had such a large impact on gaming, so he deserves his place amongst gaming history. I want to thank you for watching, and until next week, see you later.